going on, Mrs. Ryan?
Morning. Good to see you.
Who's on the show today?
Jonny Lieberman from Motor Trend is going to be here.
Jonny Lieberman from Motor Trend. And people are always wondering, what's it like to have a talk show in your... Yeah.
Chaos.
Mrs. Ryan's card down. Time to start the show. Welcome back. It's a real welcome back this time. Here we go. Welcome back.
Hello, hello.
This is the point in the show where we normally say, hey, we've been gone a while. We need to get better at this job. I'm just going to truck right through and say that I'm better at this job. So are you. So let's go from there. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Let's bring it in here. There it is. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I love it. How you doing, Mrs. Ryan?
Awesome.
Looking lovely.
Thank you, thank you.
You really are. Your face has got a little something happy going on in it. What's happening?
I don't know.
Really?
I'll take it.
Oh.
Apparently, I look best when I feel worse, so that's how I'm
shoot.
going to go.
Is it one of those?
Yeah. I feel awful. It's been a horrible day. But it's been a good learning experience of, like, bacteria on the knife is definitely, I sliced my finger like crazy yesterday.
Is it infected? Is that what's going on? Because we don't want that.
It's not, but it sends bacteria coursing
I
through
see.
my body, and it gives my body a chance to knock that shit out, which is fun. Sometimes it just takes a toll on my motor skills.
Yeah, it's weird with
But
the
I
whole...
look great.
You do. It's weird, the whole autoimmune thing, because it does affect every different thing, part of you in different ways, and something that might not be a big deal to somebody else actually is a thing to you.
Yeah.
It's wild.
So weird. Never know.
How have you been? It's been a long time.
Been great. You kept me very busy with awesome stuff.
I realized we should start the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today is Tuesday, February 11th, 2020, and our guest in the late night playset this evening, by the way, my name's Jay Ryan. This is Nicole Ryan. Our guest this evening is host, writer, and senior features editor over there at Motor Trend. Jonny Lieberman is here, and having a good time getting to know him. He's going to be in this in the set in a few minutes. And until then, Mrs. Ryan, I want to do a couple thank yous. We have some thank yous.
Okay.
To lay out there. None of these are the biggest thing in the world, but it's just a lot of people have been helping us lately, and we felt a need to say thank you, simply put. Huge thanks down to Aaron from P Car Talk.
Thank you.
Huge thanks. I know, Aaron, that you helped Mrs. Ryan out a lot with the website stuff and the merch store stuff and everything, and I just want to say totally grateful, because that's not something I have the head for. I thought I could do. I don't not have that head anymore. But you guys did a great job. Also, Stacy Pecluda, who did the web design and everything on the website, thank you so much. I know that it's still a work in progress. There's things being shifted around. Know that it is just a work in progress, because there's a couple things on there that I think are a little bit off-putting personally, like the PayPal account. That's all being finagled into a proper thing. Mr. Kevin Lynch for all of his advice and advisory role stuff that he's doing with you, Mrs. Ryan.
Can't wait
Huge
to
thanks.
talk to him later this week.
And then also, of course, I spent a great deal of time on the phone the other night with Mr. Ray Schaefer.
Hi,
Huge
Ray.
fan of Ray Schaefer. We love you. Thank you so much for your guidance, for your support, your advice, and then also just for sometimes being a listening friend. We all need that sometimes, every single one of us. So thanks to all those guys and girls. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, and then lastly, and then I'm going to say this properly because it's important. OCL from the Los Angeles Cars and Coffee. That's right, Cars and Coffee Los Angeles. We ended up finally getting to see him face-to-face up at Malibu Kitchen this weekend, and we ended up having a conversation, and hopefully things are much, much better there, because it seems like there was a misunderstanding about intentions and stuff like that, and we're sorry for our side of it, and we told him as such, and I think things are a lot better there. So that's good for us. Mrs. Ryan, East Coast Feeds.
Great.
Yeah, show-wise, that's all I have today. There's some other things we're going to do throughout the week. But East Coast Feeds are all I have today.
Alrighty.
How about you?
Nothing too much.
Just because of how you feel, or in general, are you happy to be back, etc.?
I'm stoked to be back. I love being able to do this every day and with you and be part of this, and it's really fun.
We get to have people like Jonny Lieberman come in and watch. It's pretty awesome.
I am such a nerd. Like, I didn't know how big of a fan of his I was until we started talking. I was like, I'll just talk to you all.
I came around the corner, and it looked like you guys were already doing a little show because he was like sort of on the edge of the couch interviewing you in the Eames chair and everything. It just looked very...
He's very present, and he talks
Yeah.
to you like a person. It's amazing.
I love it. All right. East Coast feed, Mrs. Ryan. Let's see. Checking in with Danbury Chive. I believe we're Brooke and the Casman here, and I believe we're at the Super Bowl. Roll it out.
Whoa.
Not at the Super Bowl. Sorry, at a Super Bowl party. This is the Super Bowl day. Yeah. All right. Roll it out.
That's a good Mrs. Ryan. It's Brooke and the Casman coming to you live. Look, she didn't fix her hair. Who knew? Pete and Jen, say hi. There we go. It's Super Bowl party tonight. Say hi, guys. We're going to go to Jay and Nicole. Noelle, say hi to Jay and Nicole. It's a video. You can talk and everything. Noelle's coming over. You see, it's cousinly love on the East Coast feed. And it's Aunt Dottie's birthday. Happy birthday, Aunt Dot. There you go. So, Brooke is at her first Werner Super Bowl party. Right? Are you loving it? Guess who's not driving home? This guy. She a lot of talking in this. A lot of talking in this. With her Dr. Pepper.
So good, Dr. Pepper's the best. Dr. Pepper's the best.
Send your love. Bye, guys.
Oh, yeah. All right.
I'm in
Man,
love with her.
I think I might be too. Yeah. She is... all right, so maybe we're starting to finally realize the dynamic here. She is far more mature than he is.
Yep.
And that somehow the age thing really doesn't matter because of the life experience.
Evens
here.
out.
It's that made me very, very happy. And I feel like Brooke, I've been you right there, and it's just awesome. I love it.
Keep him in his place, man.
I can't get it. He's just, she's like, yep, this is my life. I love it. All right. The next one, I believe we are at City Field in
right.
Queens, Flushing Meadows. All right, roll it out.
Mrs. Ryan. Look, it's Brooke and the Casman and Coraline. Say hi to Jay Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Look at that. She's sitting here playing with a G-clef that's on the floor.
And I'm eating popcorn.
And she's eating popcorn, in case you guys didn't know. Today we are at City Field because Daddy took some batting practice where the Mets hit, which was pretty cool. Huh? Wasn't it pretty cool? Right? Did you like it? Did you get to go on the field? Yeah, you did. Like a big girl. Wow, Uncle Jay, you should have seen it. And that's just a really big cat in the parking lot. Apparently there was a Chinese festival of lights yesterday. I don't know. But there's Brooke. Say hi, babe. Hi. There you go. And yeah, she's funny. And look, there's City Field, guys. See, it's like you're here in Queens with us. That's it. Want to send you some love, East Coast feed style. Love you guys.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love all of them. I love how active they are. Reminds me
Always
of our
doing
old life.
stuff.
Reminds me of our old life.
Yes, sir.
We had a conversation with Paul Kramer the other day. Paul Kennel, excuse me, from the Auto Kramers, who came up to Breakfast Club on Friday. And I don't remember how the heck this conversation got started, but his point was that he had a very hard time picturing us in our old lives as we describe it. Do you know what I mean? The fact that we did used to be so active and travel all the time, all the things that we're not anymore, and that he only knows us of the past 4 years or whatever. It's pretty interesting.
came
and
in
I
at
don't
the
imagine
tail
he's
end.
alone.
I don't ever think about that stuff. And I came in at the tail end of that conversation and I thought the same thing. Like, people must not know. Because people in my old life don't realize how much my life changed the other way.
They think you're still the same the other way.
Yeah. And so they're when I call, they expect a crazy bitch on wheels. And I hear
They're prepared for that?
totally. And I can hear them like prepare. And it's kind of funny.
Waiting for you to react, right? Is that what they're doing?
Waiting for me to put an onslaught of what I need and want on them.
Oh, I see. Oh, wow.
I wasn't reactive because I didn't give anyone a chance to do anything.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Just always on the offense.
Yeah. And then I was good at hanging up the phone after I said what I needed to say and heard what I needed to hear.
Showmanship.
I
Got your line out and stage right.
I wasn't good at any of that stuff, but if you wanted to be famous, I was really good at doing that.
Oh, it's a riot. It's a riot. That's an interesting question. How many of your old clients, when they got to you, say for the first time, when you were first signing them, how many of them wanted to be famous? How many of them wanted to be rich? How many of them wanted to just do really good work? And I don't need like a percentage, but I mean, was there a notable?
There was differences that changed a lot, and I noticed a huge difference between who my boss worked with and who I worked with later. And so there's a lot of different variables in that pie.
All right. So, but it is a little bit of everything then.
Yeah.
Some people were all over the place.
Yeah.
All right. And everything in the middle, I would imagine.
Everything in the middle. It's hard to understand sometimes. Not everyone always knows what they want. And so it's a really different trajectory. And then once you get on a path and you're on the wrong one, it's like, too bad, so sad.
I think that's true of a lot of people in the world. I mean, I was definitely one of those people.
Yeah, I see that now for everyone, and I just was the purveyor of making it happen for some people, and we got it wrong sometimes, and that's just how it is.
How do you mean? You mean you'd make people famous that
put people on the wrong path, like famous too fast, famous for the wrong thing, like promoted the wrong project, and so
But can you
forth.
predict? You can't predict that shit ahead of time, can you? I mean, that's your point. Is that it kind of is it's all a game, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes
people who are good at my old job are supposed to know better about certain things and see through some of that. And I was good at that, and then it became like promote everything to see what sticks and what's good.
Right.
And that's when it just ate me apart, because any skill of like seeing through that, knowing how to use your tools to navigate
This is my complaint with most things, from Apple to cars. And it's one of those where it used to be like in the Steve Jobs day, he would decide what was best and then sort of push that to everybody else, saying like, this is the best because whatever the fuck, and this is why, at the very least, this is why we're deciding that our product or software or whatever works this way.
Yeah.
Cars used to sort of be the same thing. BMW used to make, a 3, a 5, and a 7, and then they made an X, and now they make every different iteration in between, as well as every possible combo. So basically, if you can think it up, we can make it. I get why that was important at some point. I feel like we've got it. It sounds like every other fucking liberal who turns conservative. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, I'm ready for maybe the pendulum to swing back on that one.
I'm with you, and I see it in everything. And it's like not everything, and everyone needs to be everything.
Let's do fewer things well instead of just everything kind of.
Do what you want well.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, Mrs. Ryan. With that, it's time to ask the question that's on everyone's mind.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, what's going on, Mrs. Ryan?
They found something cool in Chernobyl. That's a weird thing to say, but we're looking at everything with new eyes now. So they found, the incident was in 86, and in 91, scientists sent robots in that were like not human controlled, but not humans there. Whatever. But what they found, like, since 91, whatever year it is, 2020, is that some of the fungus that's there actually eats radiation, and it makes them grow faster. So it's like an organic way of clearing up that mess.
Yeah, and starting the Toxic Avenger and all the other stuff from those horror movies of the 80s.
At least something.
Fish with 3 eyes, The Simpsons and all that stuff.
It's a disaster no matter what. But I think it's cool that they're finding... Oh, what's cool about this is that they're finding that the fungus has melanin in it, which is what humans have in their skin.
Right.
And so they're able to apply certain philosophies about human skin onto this fungus and to see what it'll do.
It's a shame you don't feel well because, man, is your head wrapped around things today.
Yeah?
You described that pretty well, I thought.
I'll take it. Yay!
Yeah. That's
Adam
interesting.
Sandler.
All I come to on that is what's his name in the thing? It's Jeff Goldblum, Dr. Ian Malcolm with life finds a way. That's the truth.
That was in the article.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And like that's the end, because like the last sentence, because like that's what all this is like life figuring out how to do
There are no
stuff.
black and white boxes, no matter how badly all us humans want to put things in them.
And I say that often about my MS. It's like your brain something happened at a certain point in your life, and your brain figured out a different way to do whatever it needed to do. And then at some point, someone was like, that looks weird. You're doing that wrong. Here's how to do it different. And they taught or told you how to do something. And the minute you're shown how that is not serving you, and that goes away, you're left with nothing, no foundation of how to do something. That's my lot in life at the moment. But you get to figure out new ways of doing stuff.
That's it. Got to get creative.
That's what we're doing. Life figures it out. Chernobyl and me. What we have in common. Okay. Adam Sandler made a deal with Netflix to make 4 more movies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that.
Me too.
I am one of the few people, I shouldn't say that, but of the people that we've talked to about them, I'm one of the few people in that circle that really enjoys the majority of those Netflix movies. The one
Same.
with David Spade with the the do-over or whatever, man, I enjoyed that. And the one where he's the guy that we
Cobbler.
made fun of that for a year before we actually sat down and
So
watched
good.
it. And
The
then it was
Cobbler.
like, oh, what a great message. Oh, man.
What's
I think
that one
he's an
he did with Jennifer Aniston, the murder mystery one?
That might be it. It might be called Murder Mystery or Murder Dinner Mystery or
Murder
something.
mystery.
One of those things.
Yeah. People watched his movies for 2 billion hours or something.
They're family. He's making family films now.
Yeah.
The Billy Madison days I think are done, but he's making really cute little family movies.
Yeah.
Along the same feelings, not with the same kind of hoopla, but along the same tone as Grown Ups, which was a huge success.
I think he did Grandma's Boy too, but definitely.
Happy Madison did. Yeah, they definitely did. I was there when they shot it.
Oh,
Is that what
well,
you mean? Alan Covert's movie.
Yes, Words and I know.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Duh.
that was the first project I worked with Nick on.
No shit.
Yeah.
I was there while they shot every fucking frame of that over at LA Center Studios downtown.
We met at some point.
If you watch that movie, it's all the same offices from Mad Men and Anchorman and every other show or movie that was shot in that building. How can you see me when he's in that hallway with the black floor? You see that in everything. So funny.
I'll look at that later.
That was a tangent, but I love that Grandma's movie. That's a funny guilty pleasure for me.
I do too.
Really funny.
I never remember why I like it until I watch it. I'm like,
Because
I love
the
it.
movie, if you read it on paper, it's terrible. But when you watch it, it's very, very sweet for some reason. There's a lot of heart to it. And I think that's Alan Covert, which he puts in a lot of those.
Alan
Happy
is
Madison
good about
movies.
that stuff. Yeah. We found that a lot and we were trying to sell it because no one could figure out what it was about.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's a really good story.
Yeah.
And these people are really good people.
It was. It's a sweet
interesting.
thing wrapped up in a bunch of frat porn.
Totally.
I mean, frat humor and porn.
Yeah. With computers. And then lastly, the FDA has amended this policy for animal adoptions. Animals that are lab testers that have makeup and other stuff, dogs, cats, monkeys, whatever. Primates, usually, lizards, some of them. But the FDA is allowing them to be adopted now instead of euthanized.
Oh, I see. So there was a point previously where they were not allowed to leave the lab, so to speak.
There was they were sent
Wow, I didn't
somewhere
realize
and
that.
gotten rid of, disposed of properly, so that whatever they were tested with.
I mean, I don't know how. It's a whole weird, yeah.
It's a weird system, no matter how you put it. Like everything has to be figured out. But
I grew up with this. I grew up with our neighbor being death threatened and pipe bombed at work
Right.
and everything else because he owned and he was the CEO of
It's
U.S.
like a
Surgical. U.S. Surgical.
Right.
He created the surgical staple. He literally invented
Okay.
that. I think he's long since dead now. But this was my neighbor growing up. His name was Leon Hirsch, and you can look this up in the paper and stuff. Look up Leon Hirsch, U.S. Surgical, death threats. There was pipe bombs exploded at his office for sure. He had security cars, and remember he bought every house on the thing. Anyway, it was a huge thing, all because of the animal testing. So that's what all the death threats and everything else were about. So my whole life I've always been like, animal testing kind of rotten, but I don't have another way. But do we really need to do it? Nowadays, it seems like we could just figure out other stuff. Is this? I mean, is it? It's better than it was, sure, but it's not really a fix, is it? Band-Aid?
I don't think they're trying to fix that. Adopting and putting animals back into the public is kind of the goal of this. But they've changed and decreased the amount of animal testing done because of things like that.
Great.
So
That's some good news.
this is just another way to expand that population of it's all fine.
Thanks for explaining.
Sure thing.
Oh, and that's been. That was the last story. That's been What's Going On, Mrs. Ryan. Great job, Mrs. Ryan. Okay, let us do a quick break here. We went on and on as usual there. No surprise. Do a quick break. Get our guest, Jonny Lieberman, in here, shall we?
Awesome.
All right. More after this with these quick messages from OSO Delicious Hot Sauce. The hot sauce made by bears.
Oh, it's so delicious. It's the hot sauce made by bears. Garlic and serrano mixed with love and care. You can put it on your eggs, pour it on your rice. It's great on a leg, it's better on a slice. It's oh so delicious. It's the hot sauce made by bears. Oh, so delicious hot sauce. Great on everything except oatmeal.
Get your bottle today at osodelicious.org. $1 from every bottle sold goes to the National Military Family Association.
All right, you good?
Good.
With that, we are sitting here with Mr. Jonny Lieberman.
Hi.
Get all this stuff situated here. How's it going, brother?
Hello. It's going good. Going good.
Thanks
Getting over something. So when I start hacking, it's the tail end of bronchitis or SARS or whatever.
Your mic was wiped with alcohol right before you, and apparently it's going to be right after.
No, I'm just saying. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying it's going to sound bad to people listening because I'm pretty sure it's SARS.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Is that still going on? Isn't it the same
Yes.
thing? It's always just another version of the same thing, right?
I don't know. I don't know anything about
Isn't
medicine.
Coronavirus, SARS, the same thing.
I know that the influenza, the common flu, has killed like a zillion times more people this year than coronavirus. But coronavirus gets all the headlines, and no one will get a flu shot. So
That's right. You have a never-ending cruise ship experience.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming over here,
Of
man.
course.
I was
Yeah.
trying to figure this out before, and we kind of figured it out. This isn't. We're not meeting today. We've met before.
I know for sure I saw you guys in a yellow 911,
That sounds right.
an old one, in Malibu. I was with my buddy Jeff. I had a GT3, he had a 911R. And I was like, oh, look, they have a Porsche too. But then we parked somewhere else, and I
He's
can
like,
walk up like, I have a Porsche.
I'm not parking next to that dirty thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has his stuff like washed by the same guy every week. It's so
Oh, yeah.
immaculate. It's
Oh, yeah.
absolutely
Hey,
perfect.
man, having lots of money is a good thing if you like clean cars. So,
I think it's definitely different parking sections for sure over there.
yeah.
All right, well then you go to the Malibu Kitchen so that we have that in common as well.
Yeah, once in a while. Yeah, I mean, I live out near Pasadena, so it's a schlep for me to get there. But
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, we're on the east side all the time. Friday mornings is Newcomb's.
Oh yeah. I mean, I usually drop my kid off at daycare and then head up to Angeles Crest during the week when there's no one up there. Newcomb's
press
gets a
cars
little
usually,
credit.
probably?
Always press cars.
Always
Yeah, come
press
on, man. Yeah, I mean, I parked a Rolls Royce Cullinan in front of your house. So
Yeah, the neighbors are totally the property values are skyrocketing while you're
I mean,
here.
it's $394,275 SUV, and
on the
I will
street.
say $50,000 of that is the leather.
Oh no way.
Yeah, launch edition, and I was like, "What is this launch edition?" And it's just the leather. Actually, I can show you. This is great for radio. I'm going to show you something. But the key, you can see it's robin's egg blue.
Yeah.
But that's the leather that the whole interior is. Well, I shouldn't say the whole. I'd say like 2/3 of the leather is that,
Pale blue
and then a very dark blue, almost purple, is the contrast color, and it's pretty nice.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not
What
bad.
color is the outside?
Like gunmetal-y kind of.
Oh, wow.
I will say, like, for as preposterous of a vehicle as the Cullinan is, and it's named after a giant diamond. I mean, it's just
Is that
like,
what it is? Yeah, I don't even know.
it's the largest diamond in the world is the Cullinan. Not the nicest, just the largest.
Size-wise,
Yeah. There's my bronchitis. SARS. Anyways, so having it in a gunmetal color, and especially because you can actually lower the hood ornament from inside the vehicle.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's kind of almost stealthy because you just feel like the biggest. Can we swear?
Yeah.
Cock in the world
Yeah.
driving that thing around, especially like past homeless encampments. It's just like, oh man. But
Yeah.
at the same time, you pass like murdered out Range Rovers, and you're just like peasant because that car was a quarter the price of what you're driving. You know what I mean?
It is kind of a joke.
And it's like, the clothes make the man type thing. So, and Ralph Lauren, I don't know why I'm quoting Ralph Lauren, but Ralph Lauren talked about this. Like, he likes basically to play dress up. Like, if you dress like a cowboy, you kind of become a
yeah.
cowboy,
Yeah.
Type thing. So,
You personify the outfit.
yeah, I mean, this car is half the cost of my home. And it's LA, so it's I have a 1,100 square foot house.
That's
but
right.
yeah, but but in a lot of places this is the cost of a home. So, but anyways, I can never afford it. But you sort of become a temporary Rolls-Royce owner, and so
Wow.
you start thinking peasant as you blow by like Bentegas and like Uruses. Like, oh, I could have 2 of those. Yeah.
Well, but all right. So you previously liked the Urus, right? That
Urus is amazing. Yeah, Urus is fantastic. The thing about the Urus no one knows is that it weighs less than 5,000 pounds, which is how pathetic cars have become. But less than 5,000 pounds is a major accomplishment because that platform is RSQ8, Q8, Cayenne, Bentayga, all of those, which share a platform with the Urus, weigh over 5,000 pounds and make less power. So they've gotten the weight out of that thing, and it makes the most power, and it's shocking and keep up with anything on a twisty road. So they did a good job.
You brought a yellow one up to Breakfast Club one time, whether you were going to Breakfast Club or not, but you were up there at the same time with a bunch of slow Porsches, I believe was the post, something like that.
Yes,
Cars
yes,
slow.
yes, that's true.
How was that car on the crest? I've heard
It's great.
people driving it everywhere, and
It's
everyone
great.
loves it. Really?
Yeah, super great. Yep.
For all the same reasons you just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, look, is it the
But
most...
that's technology, right? It's just technology is there?
It's engineering. I mean, there's a team of dudes, and they're all dudes, sadly, but there's a team of dudes at Lamborghini that know how to engineer cars, and with that one, I'll tell you a funny story. So, look, first of all, we have to establish performance SUVs are ridiculous. They serve no function. They're wasteful. They're stupid. However, they're a lot of fun to drive.
Yep.
By the same token,
Amazing to see what man can do.
yeah, and by the same token, sports cars are also stupid. No one says that because they're totally unnecessary. But I love them as well. Anyhow, so before the Urus came along, my favorite ever performance SUV was the BMW X6M. Just like, wow, that thing was amazing to drive. It's like a hill climb car.
Over the 5M, just
Yeah, it weighed a little less,
Okay.
and just, weight's in a different place, and just for whatever reason, it was a skosh better. Yeah. So I got to the Nardo ring. Actually, it was a Nardo test facility. We didn't go on the ring. We're at the infield track, and we're driving pre-production Uruses around. So don't even ask how it started, but like Maurizio Reggioni, my good friend, he's the head of research and development at Lamborghini, and he has this little, basically when Winkleman left, because Winkleman didn't want anyone driving anything or doing anything or thinking anything. He was just like, you just repeat what we tell you. And so the second he left, Reggioni opened it up, and there was that car, the Centenario, which was like a $2 million special edition Aventador that it was a downforce car. It had I forget whatever, like a baby elephant of downforce at 160 miles an hour. So
the fact that they took an Aventador and made something special out of it says everything.
Yeah, so he wanted us to actually drive it, and I remember saying, how come we can drive this and we couldn't drive, like, for instance, the Veneno? And he goes, Winkleman. So, yeah. Anyway, so he left. So what he did was he got
like Middleman's fault.
He got a British journalist, Charlie Turner, who's the editor-in-chief of Top Gear. He got a German who's actually an Austrian, George Cocker. He got a German guy, Christian Gebhardt, and me. I was the American. So the 4 of us have gone on like 3 or 4 of these like really early kind of exclusive access to, like, I drove the Performante like a year before anybody ever saw it without camouflage on it, and same with the Urus and blah blah. Anyhow, so we're sitting there, we're at the Nardo, driving the Urus, and I'm like, what did you like? How did you've never made an SUV before? Because Reggioni started his career, I think at Maserati, but then I don't know, he was a Bugatti with the EB110.
Even further from SUVs.
Yeah, EB110, and then Maserati, and then he's been at Lamborghini forever. I'm like, what do you know about SUVs? He goes, we knew nothing, so we drove everything. And I remember, I don't think he cares now, but he's like, don't repeat this, don't write this. But the best one, probably because it was not a Volkswagen brand product, was the BMW X6M. And I'm like, that's my favorite too. I'm like, oh. And then he goes, come here. And he had one at the track that we weren't supposed to drive, but he's like, go ahead and drive it. And it was shocking. Like, it just felt like this slow old car compared to the Urus.
That you had just gotten out of.
Yeah. And, by the way, the X6M weighs like, I think 500 or 600 pounds more than the Urus. I mean, and the Urus is bigger than the X6M. It's a big, big car. They just got all the weight out of it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they did a good job.
How'd they do that?
I mean,
Is it
sound
materials?
insulation. Yeah. There's probably aluminum skin. Well, that all those have aluminum skin on the doors, but they probably, probably a composite tailgate and an aluminum hood or something like that. Maybe some kind of lightweighting on the roof, but sound insulation's part of it.
Someone drove one here. Some guest had one here one day. Well, Lisa Taylor brought hers.
Right. I never know when people talk about making something faster or lighter. It's like, is it new materials or are you taking stuff out of it?
Good question.
It's a combination. It's definitely material sciences. It's also like, what grade of carpet do you want in the car?
Okay.
Yeah. There's 3 meters of square carpet in a car. And, the amount of speakers, like, a Bentayga might have 22 speakers, whereas the Urus might get away with 8 or something. You know what I mean? Just lighten.
Things that people that don't race cars don't know about.
Yeah. And if you race cars, you take everything out. Like the greatest example was the 5th gen Camaro, the Z28, had 1 speaker. Why not? Why not? Why have any speakers at all? Because legally, you have to have a chime that your seatbelt's not buckled.
Holy crap!
So they left 1 speaker in. Yeah. It's a federal requirement that if you don't have your seatbelt on, the car beeps at you.
That's really wild.
Yeah, so 1 speaker.
That's really wild.
Yeah.
That was a Camaro?
Yeah, the Z28. Phenomenal car. Phenomenal. They took everything out. I mean, I think they left the rear seat because with the rear seat out, it was less rigid because there was a structural member. Sure. But they took, there was like holes where the speakers would be in the back parcel shelf. I mean, it was crazy.
Wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Super cool car. Yeah, super cool car.
What kind of kid were you? Can I just start there? Because the guy who's here is nothing like the guy who you have a bit of a reputation for being like the guy who sort of hates everything, or like the guy who's
I have a reputation for hating everything,
or the guy who's maybe getting you. Do you start shit with people online or social media?
No, but I don't let anyone like start shit with me online.
Okay,
I'm very quick at like. If anyone starts, I'll just I use the term like either calm down or go away, and they're both synonyms for fuck off or fuck you.
Shut it down.
I just and like my friend Drew always he's like, you have the worst online personality. And I'm like, I just don't want to get into like arguments with people. I just shut up,
I just started following you like today.
Okay.
So we followed you on all the accounts, but I had just heard this from somebody else, and it was like, oh yeah, he's always getting in fights online with people.
No, I just stopped the fights.
So people try to start shit with you. Is it because like, oh, I don't agree with what you said about that car? That car's awesome.
It's so frequent that I forget why. Yeah, there's so many reasons.
All right.
Yeah.
But you've got your ways of quelling it.
I want I try to be a little bit more intelligent talking about cars than the other guy. And when people, especially like racist, sexist, homophobic, anything like that, shut that down instantly.
Oh, well,
and make fun of them. I want them to know that people hate them as well. And then I do.
What I realized the subject matter was. I didn't realize.
No. But also, where people say something stupid. Like I'll give you a for instance. So I had the Cullinan at my house, and my electrician's there, and he bought a Ford Expedition because his van crapped out, and he's like, I got this thing for $1,300, and they're about the same size. So I took a picture, and I'm like, look,
I looked at that.
Yeah, I'm like, look at this. So like, here's a $400,000 Cullinan versus a $1,300 Ford. Like, I'll send a fancy jar of mustard to like, if you can guess correctly, how many bozos are going to say they want the Ford? Because it's like a $1,300 Ford Expedition from like whatever that is 2001 is really bad. It's a 4.6 liter. If you saw the interior, you get a tetanus shot. It's awful. And of course everyone's like, oh man, I'd rather have the Ford. I just that kind of stuff like just these like tropes and like personas people fall into because it's so easy and lazy not to think. I try and shut that down. On my stuff.
I may be falling in love with you while you sit here because of this answer. I did not. It's not what I thought. It's not what it sounded like.
Oh, okay.
Originally.
Yeah.
I actually have great respect for you.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I want to. I think way too much about cars, and I'm way too serious about it, and it's kind of like not destroyed, but. I can't just like have fun. I have to like analyze and psychoanalyze and reanalyze. But anyways, like I said, I just want to like raise the discussion a notch, just one notch from like thick, or whatever people.
Is that
you know
actually
what I mean?
a goal, or is that just sort of like a? It's
No,
the
it is.
Story.
No, it is. Yeah, I mean, look,
to move the needle.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've always been a writer. My background is comparative religion and philosophy, so I've always been not a deep thinker. I wish I was a deep thinker. I'm not. I'm very car cool, but I try. Yeah. No, I mean, we're existential. we're on a very insignificant rock orbiting a third-rate star in a outer galaxy in the middle of nowhere. We'll all be dead soon.
Yeah. How long?
So
how long could it last?
So
How long should it last?
so once you're over that horror, sorry to hit the mic there. Once you're over that, then you got to have some fun. So for me, cars are a lot of fun. And talking about cars and thinking about cars.
So, all right, then going back there, we'll bridge the gap. Then.
Yeah.
Were you into cars when you were young, too? Because I was totally into cars as a kid.
Yes. My earliest memory, it goes back and forth. It's either being in the Rose Garden at Bouchard Gardens on Victoria Island off the coast of BC, or it's being strapped to the front of my dad's 280Z up on Decker Canyon.
Oh,
I'm not sure which
those are
came
crazy.
first. Yeah.
One, you're not Canadian, are you?
About half, yeah.
Oh, you are? Oh,
Yeah.
She's got it in her blood, too.
Oh, nice.
From Rochester up there, about a 30-mile swim across the
Okay, my
the
dad's
lake
from
there.
Montreal, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
My family hails from Quebec,
Yeah.
but I like Montreal a lot.
Well, Montreal's in Quebec. You mean Quebec City?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. Walled
that's
city.
old
The only
school.
walled city in North America.
Yeah.
Yeah, gorgeous. So yeah, and then my dad claims when I was a year old, I painted a racing stripe on his same Datsun.
What do you mean claimed? Did you?
Well, I don't think I knew what a racing stripe was, but I somehow got a hold of a paint roller and a can of paint in the garage and put a white stripe on his burnt umber Datsun. But yeah, I know I've always loved cars. I mean, I used to memorize buyer's guides, so I could look at any car on the road and be like, oh, 2.2 liter 8 valve overhead can, just whatever.
Totally.
So, and I still have that. I have an uncanny ability to remember horsepower and torque figures, which is
Were you the kid who could identify a car by its headlights from oncoming, stuff like that?
Not only that, my mom, I remember she used to watch, was it One Life to Live or General Hospital? One of those soap operas. And they had a thing where there was a hit and run and they had a headlight of a car. And in the episode.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah, in the episode. They just had the headlight there, and the police were gonna. It was General Hospital because it was police, and they were gonna take it to an expert. And my mom, on the VCR, paused it. She's like, "What is that?" I was like, "Oh, it's a Volvo 240." Yeah.
You totally knew. I was
Yeah.
thinking my cousin Vinny. It was the same thing.
In fact, so Mark Recton, who's the now brand new editor-in-chief of Motor Trend, he works with the San Pedro Police Department when they have hit and runs and stuff like that, and they get
As an expert?
as just identify what car is this? You know what I mean? If they don't have a plate, or if the plate's off the car or whatever. And then once in a while he'll farm it out to me. He's like, well, you think that's a WRX or a 3 Series? Which you laugh, but a grainy rear shot of a STI and a 3 Series are identical.
Or a 5 Series.
I'm really
just because of the
glad
shape of that.
police forces are using people like you guys.
Yeah, Mark does it more than I do, but it's so
I heard
I
you
still
were a paid
do that.
informant. That's what I heard. I heard that Jonny Lieberman was a paid informant for the San Pedro Police Department.
Yeah. For San Pedro, yeah. Just for them though, just for them. But no, and I couldn't figure it out, but I helped a friend of mine. Her parents were robbed, a home invasion robbery in Peru, and the cops had a grainy image of a car from a security camera. And a friend of mine who's a South American car journalist, I was like, what's this? And it was a South American market Audi that I've never seen.
Whoa.
Yeah. But I still do stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
I love. I do think of my cousin Vinny, but I'm also thinking now because of all these different scenarios, there could be a different show and or movie here.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
see that.
Car dork.
Yeah, I can't figure out what the angle is, but it's interesting enough to me where I'm like,
I
would watch a little bit further
Extreme
It's like
car
Patton
dorkism.
Oswalt's amazing late wife Michelle. Using skill sets that don't seem applicable in bizarre scenarios.
Right.
This is one of them.
Right.
I see the show.
on. You were describing before, I can't even enjoy it. That's her with a comedy special. I mean, she can't even watch a comedy special without internally picking it apart because of how many she's produced or had a part of or been around.
Well, I can still enjoy cars, but I play bass, and if I see a live band and the bass player is not as good as I am, it drives me insane. And I'm a real snobby jerk, but I can't enjoy most music. I'm just this sucks. Come on, break a sweat. You got to do it.
Was the music were you doing that when you were young too?
Yeah, oh yeah. I always say if my 16-year-old self could see me now, he'd just think I was a complete miserable failure because I'm not in a punk band. Yeah.
And it was always bass with you?
Yeah, I can't even I don't know a chord on a piano. I can't play guitar, just bass. Yeah.
So you just felt it. The bass is one of those. I mean, you can kind of feel your way through that. You don't even need to read music, really.
Yeah, I mean, I learned. My not forced me, but I took piano lessons when I was a kid, and I just hated it because none of the music I like had a piano in it. You know what I mean? Like, so when the music I liked, had bass in it, so I liked bass, and I learned how to read music, but then I taught myself to forget it because it was just like, this sucks. Yeah, just playing like show tunes or whatever.
Good grief. How old was this whole time, like when you're coming up through music and stuff?
I mean, I started playing
like
bass
5, 6,
when I was
10?
14.
Oh, okay.
What bass? I mean, piano lessons was when I was younger than that, but I bought my first bass. I think I was 13 or 14, probably 14, and took bass lessons forever and ever and ever, and I was
through high school.
I was good. I was a music minor for a semester in college.
Really?
Yeah, I had a bad experience.
I was trying to get to college because you were college radio.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You in college radio.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about your experience?
Well, I loved it. I mean, I did college radio for the whole time I was in college. At one point I was a general manager of my college radio station. It was K-Sun at
Where'd
Sonoma
you go
State.
to college?
Sonoma State. Yeah,
Okay.
Sonoma State. Yeah, I was a very bad high school student. So while I had pretty good SATs, I think I graduated with a 2.29 grade point average because I just was drunk and on drugs the entire last 2 years of high school.
That's a pretty good average.
I did all right. Yeah, I did all right.
Is that part of just growing up where you grew up too?
This is a much longer conversation.
Right,
Let's probably get a therapist involved. But I don't know. It is hard to be young.
Yeah.
But I really liked playing bass. So
just know that we've all been there.
Oh yeah, totally.
We've
totally,
all got that damn story.
Once I got to college, I became a pretty okay student.
But what about the broadcasting stuff? Were you doing that because you weren't doing music, and this was another way to?
I was always in a band and stuff like that. No, I just loved new music and discovering bands, and I just loved being on the radio.
But were you doing it to be around the music, or were you doing it because you were developing? Oh my gosh, I have a voice now. I can start. Like people are listening to me.
That was secondary. It was I got there and I couldn't believe how cool college radio was, having never really heard it before.
No shit.
Yeah, I just never, because like the college next to my house was like a Lutheran college, and I don't know, I mean, maybe they had a radio station, I don't know, but
I see your point.
They weren't doing anything cool. But I got there,
first like indie station almost.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then this Billy Hawes, still friends with him, but Billy Hawes was the general manager, and I just looked up to him. I couldn't believe how great this guy was, and I loved the way he ran the station. And then he graduated. So I was like, well, I want to do exactly what he's doing. I don't want to change a thing. I think we had a concert. Maybe that was my great addition.
Your contribution.
Yeah. Although really that was my music director, Damon Beebe. But anyways, so I was like, I want to do the exact same thing. So that was my intent. I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to make sure everything stays the same. Pretty conservative, actually.
Well, that was me earlier on the show too. But you really just liked what you had, right?
I loved it, and it was so obvious that it was there was no audience or market. You know what I mean? It's one of those like really like just magic moments where there's a zillion people that want to tear it all down.
Yes.
You know, like I was one of the original guys at Jalopnik. And the same thing, there was like, we knew we had something really, really special. This was about 15 years ago. And there was like wolves at the door that wanted just to like tear it down and ruin it. And they did. They completely fucked that site. Now I have no idea. But like, you know, after we all quit, it was really bad for a while. And you can quote me and you play this. I have no problem saying it. But there was literal monsters that wanted to just do nothing but destroy that site. And they did. But we had this little firewall for a while, and then eventually, you know, I mean, you know, you probably have heard what happened to Gawker, and it was, you know, not the greatest corporate structure ever constructed or the greatest corporate culture. And so Mike Spinelli,
Gawker and Jalopnik were the same.
Jalopnik was a Gawker property, yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you know?
A company that I worked for bought a bunch of those. And
yeah.
So I did know weird facts like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. So Mike Spinelli was the guy who started Jalopnik. You know, Nick Denton said, "Hey, you should start a car blog." And
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like his little show on the YouTube.
Yeah. No, Spinelli's the best. But eventually, the pressure of like keeping the monsters back just wore him down, and he quit. And then that was it. That was the end of it. But it was this really magical, special moment in time.
Well, it still exists. It's a corporate entity now, right? Or
Yeah,
did
no,
they
but I mean,
kill it?
it was like Spinelli and myself and Davey Johnson, R.I.P. Mike Bumbeck, who people have I think sadly forgotten about, but he was a huge part of it. Merle Martin, who writes for Car and Driver, Auto Week, everybody in the universe, and it was great. It was like this really, it was. I always say we were the velvet underground of car websites because nobody read us, but everyone who did now writes about cars professionally.
Do people get that reference?
No, but a couple people do. Yeah. So,
I like
but it was
I like
cool.
it.
It was very cool. It was a very cool 2-year period.
Bunch of famous guys from famous bands who started their own band.
Right.
Yeah, and it was anyway. So
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I
so,
didn't know that about you. That's really cool.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
about that you were part of that story, rather.
Yeah. I was I think I was probably the fourth person they hired, something like
Wow.
that. Yeah.
How did you
So-
get to Motor Trend? Was it just that's evolution?
Kind of. I mean, the part no one wants to hear is I worked really, really hard for 5 years. I just worked my ass off for
That's
no money.
the part I want to hear.
Oh yeah.
by the way.
I never said no, and I just wrote and did everything I could, and then I'll leave the name out of it, but due to a mutual hatred, I met Angus McKenzie, who was the then editor-in-chief of Motor Trend, and I was at Autoblog at the time, and we used to get daily news items that you had to write so many posts a day or whatever it was, and one of them was that Motor Trend was relaunching Motor Trend Classic, which is this really cool magazine of just classic cars. And a buddy of mine, Paul, he has a zillion amazing cars, but he had a 1941 Tatra T87, and I had been in this thing and rode around this thing, and it was the coolest car ever.
I don't even know what it is.
Czechoslovakian
Sedan?
It's a sedan.
Okay.
It's a rear engine, air cooled V8. It could go 100 miles an hour in the 30s. Remember Tatra famously sued Volkswagen after the war in '61 because Hans Ludwinka and Dr. Porsche and Adolf Hitler all sat down at one point, and because Hitler was convinced that Tatra was the car for his Autobahn, and Ludwinka was like, "No, I won't just give you the patents or whatever." And that's where there was a car called the Tatra T97, which if you look at it hey, that's a Volkswagen Beetle.
How'd you like to have been on the fucking fly on the wall at that tea party, man?
Yeah, well, it gets even worse than that because Ludwinka ripped off a guy named Gans, Joseph Gans, and Gans made the horrible mistake of being Jewish in Germany in 1933, so he had to go to Switzerland. But yeah,
But you are the guy who remembers all these facts. I'm so incredibly impressed.
yeah, well,
I don't remember
that's
shit,
my
so I'm just,
yeah. I mean, that's what I do for a living is write about cars, right?
Fair
so,
enough.
But anyway, so he had this Tatra, this T87, amazing car. And at Autoblog, I was like, "Hey guys, let me write a story about it." And they came back and were like, "Nah, it'll do crickets." And I remember I wrote Angus a note. I'm like, "Hey, I just saw that you relaunched Motor Trend Classic. My friend has a Tatra T87. Would you be interested in a story?" And he wrote back "Awesome car, do it." And so I wrote about it, and he sent me a note that was very professionally done. Would you like to have lunch? So I went down and had lunch, and he made me a job offer, and I said, "Absolutely not. That's horrible money." and he said, "Well, if you wait a little while, a bigger job's opening up." I was like, "Well, I'm getting married in a month. I'll after that we'll get back in touch." And then he wanted to have lunch again, and I walked into his office, and he said, "Yes or no, right now, senior editor." Ooh. And I was like, I should call my new wife, but I'll just say yes, and let's get lunch, and I'll call her afterwards. And it's been almost a decade.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. That's
Yeah.
a fucking great story.
Yeah.
So
it was
I mean,
great.
it's a little bit of both. It's I worked really hard, and then there's still that little.
Yeah,
bit of,
and then there was a little bit of there was a little bit of opportunity, and I grabbed it. And
Seize
I
the day.
I put more work into that Tatra story than anything I've ever done before or since. I mean, I was just like, I'm gonna nail this one. I'm gonna nail this one. I had the craziest thing because my friend Paul's a nut and collects everything. But I had these after World War II. The British were like, okay, what can we get out of Germany? What not even Germany, out of these, now we're running the world basically with the Americans. What spoils can we get? So they took all the cars, or just everything they could back to England. They did these crazy engineering studies of all the German cars, the Czech cars. So I had these engineering studies from 1946-7 of the Tatra. And I mean everything. These are people that have never even seen a car before. They're just engineers. So they broke it down in every way possible. I remember this top-down view, and they were showing the angles you could see out of the windshield. It was the most insane thing ever. But it was this like total complete breakdown of a car. It was like a spacecraft had landed, and you sent like engineers to go and pick the thing apart.
For me, I'm picturing the JFK analysis with the bullet and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
It actually looked like that. Yeah, I mean, even older. It was like 20 years older than that because it was like mid 40s. So, and he gave me all these documents to go through. So we had every single thing about the car except for the torque figure. If anyone out there knows how much torque, we know it makes 100 horsepower, which is a lot in the mid 30s. But how much torque that 2.9 liter air cooled hemispherical combustion chamber V8 with equal length pipes makes, I'd love to know. We have no idea.
You can't throw it on the dyno.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
would you break it? I mean, would
No,
you not take the chance?
I don't know. I never asked Paul, but it was. I just remember like our technical editor was still there. Frank Marcus was like, "What do you mean you don't know the torque?" And I'm like, "I've got these engineering documents. I got everything. Like, there's
a
no
box for
torque.
that. They need to fill it."
Yeah. So we had to do an estimate. It was like a 100 pound-feet estimate.
Yeah.
But
gosh, that's funny.
It was an amazing car. I mean, that was known as during the war because it was the best car in the world. I mean, it was just this awesome thing that could go 100 miles an hour when everything else could only go 50. So it was known as the Czech secret weapon because all the SS officers, they confiscated them, stole them, and then they get really drunk and kill themselves. And so like that's how German officers were dying, was crashing Tatras at 100 miles an hour.
I just think it's very interesting that this random obscure vehicle is the one that got you the job that everybody knows you for.
Yeah. I guess
it's the best story I've ever done.
It is random and obscure until you think about it. Like Volkswagen and Porsche and everything, they came from really Ludwenka's work on like streamlining air-cooled rear engine, backbone chassis, swing axles.
The tie-in is there, Mr. Ryder. I agree.
No. But then look, like, Porsche, although I even argue Taycan, like, boy, they all kind of look like the T87, actually. And the T77 came first. And if you look at, like, the original Panamera and the T87, boy, like,
really,
yeah, you know what I'm saying. So sure. It is relevant, anyway, I don't know. So the stuff like that fascinates me.
I hope it comes up again, especially now that the Taycan's out and the whole. But you know what I mean. I hope that we get a chance to somehow revisit that.
Well, I did a video when the new Panamera came out. I did a video and I was saying, like, the great irony here is the new Panamera, they decided that they're going to make it look like the 911.
Yeah.
Even though it's a front engine car, they're going to make this four-door look like a rear engine car. And then, oh look, here's a rear engine car.
Don't get me started.
Right? Yeah. No. But it was really interesting. Like, why not just make it rear end? I mean, there's a lot of reasons not to, or
this
to.
This was me with the new Beetle back in 2000.
Oh yeah. Right, yeah. Yeah, but it was just interesting. Like, there was a rear engine four-door sedan at the time. Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what kind of child you were. You are incredibly funny. You are a funny person. I noticed that before we even got on the show.
Yeah, I'm a riot. Yeah.
Is comedy anything in your life? Do you care about comedy? Do you follow comedy? Do you are you just a funny
no?
person?
I mean, last time I bought a comedy record was like
what a comedy record.
A George Carlin record in high school, maybe. I like funny movies, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I like all kinds of movies. I don't know. I told my
no
wife.
Wrong answer. I was just curious.
Yeah, my wife's in a sketch troupe.
Oh, well, that's huge.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well, if we're all just.
It's called Fever. It's a new troupe, but
we're the sum of our 5 people or whatever, right?
Right. Yeah. So
is she good?
I think she's very funny. My wife, she's great. Yeah. No, but my wife. Well, I mean,
my wife.
My wife's an attorney, but today at 2 I have to get home because she has a sword swallowing gig. Because she used to be a sideshow performer.
The thing is, I think you're telling the truth.
Yeah, I am.
Which makes this not comedy, which makes you just funny.
No, I am. Yeah. No, she can.
You get it?
Yeah. She was a working sword swallower before law school.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true.
No, I mean, I believe it, but apparently still does it for fun.
No, but somebody was going to give her a couple $100 to swallow swords on camera, so she's like, why not? Beats, like, whatever the hell she's doing with lawyer work.
I get it, but is she still really in an improv troupe, too?
She's in an improv troupe, a sketch comedy. Not improv, sketch. So they write them out. But, yeah, It's called Fever. And so awesome.
Whereabouts, where can people see this?
Oh, God. This is horrible. She's going to kill me.
Google.
Oh
That's
my God!
right.
Yeah,
That's
go to
right.
Google
That's
Fever. There's a theater in LA, and they do
on
it like
Google.
one Sunday a month. They do it, and I don't go ever because I stay home with the kid. She goes
How
out
old's
at
your
night.
kid?
He's gonna be 3 next month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, his name's Richard. He's awesome. But
Shout out to Richard.
what was I gonna say? Anyways, my wife said like, hey, maybe I should do stand up, and I always this is. I don't know if I'd be good at it, but I always think I could write a great stand-up
Yes,
set.
that's what I've always thought.
I could write like 15 killer slaying minutes.
You could deliver it too, but you don't have any interest in that.
I have no interest in that.
Yeah, that's me too.
Yeah, I just never thought. I mean, I do a lot of public speaking, and I'm one of those weird people. Like, I don't even think about it.
Right.
I don't get nervous at all, and I think it's because I was in a band for so long. I'm just used to standing on stage, looking at people. But it just doesn't even
You
like.
also seem to be a very comfortable person. Like, you don't seem like. Do other people ever get you out of your skin? Because you seem to just be very relaxed.
Trying to think.
That happens to me
I
sometimes.
met
That's why
Henry
I'm asking.
Winkler the other day, and that like kind of I didn't know what to say.
adore him.
Yeah, I was like blah blah blah. My friend, I'll just name drop here. My friend Ronnie, he wrote a movie called Uncut Gems that you've probably heard about
Sure,
with
yeah,
Sandler and
very big
everything.
right
So
now.
yeah, we went to the premiere, and I was sitting there talking to Ronnie, and this guy walks up, and it's the Fonz. And like I'm just like
He played Sandler's dad in one of those movies.
yes. Well, then Sandler walks up, and in my head I'm like, oh look, it's the Water Boy. But I couldn't.
Oh, I forgot about that one. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
thinking the Click one with the
Oh,
remote, but still,
I
you're right.
Yeah, it's the last Sandler movie I saw was The Waterboy, but I couldn't say anything. I did, I was like, I wanted to be like, hey Adam, like fuck off. I want to talk to the Fonz,
Yeah.
But that got me very, once in a while. Like I saw Muhammad Ali in
that's-
twice
he's
in
royalty.
person. I remember like the first time he was coming out of a church in Manhattan somewhere, and I like freaked out and was like crying, and that was pretty big, but. Takes a pretty big celebrity.
Or a small one for me. Typically, it's a smaller celebrity who will
Yeah.
get me. I mean,
Like whom?
We never talk about this, but like I literally had dinner with Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt the night they got engaged.
Okay.
Don't care about it at all.
Yeah,
But if
they
I run
wouldn't-
into some fucking obscure guy who was the Tic Tac Seidler guy on the Seinfeld episode, and he was reading for casting on a show, I was
yeah,
working on it,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, dude, you were really great in Silence of the Lambs when you were the guy with the face. And
I did that. Oh my god, I'm blanking on her name. Damn it. Oh my god.
Well, somebody was Pete Holmes was talking about that with the watching background actors and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm the same kind of way. It's
Same.
the unsung heroes I look out for.
Maybe it's not. I don't know if it's not that for me, but it like it's just like a movie like I or a TV show or whatever I really care about. But oh my god, I've been to her house. I'm like, anyways, my friend used to be married to this woman. She was in Magnolia. It'll come to me. Anyways, she was in Cabin Boy.
Oh, okay.
She was the heroine in Cabin Boy, and so I was in my friend. Before he was really my friend, he's like, hey, come to my house and look at this car. So I'm looking at the car, and she walks out, and I was like, you were in Cabin Boy, and
We're
she's
talking
like,
about the Chris
Elliott, Chris Elliott movie.
David Letterman's.
yeah, David
Wanna Buy a
Letterman's in
Monkey?
it. Yes, full circle. Yes, he's the greatest. His only movie ever,
I think that's true.
and it's just the greatest scene ever when he just keeps like, "Hey, little girl, like, yeah, you want to buy a monkey?"
I've never even
Yeah.
seen the movie, but I've
Oh,
seen
it's
that
the
clip
best
of
movie.
him with the
Oh, it's the
sailor
greatest
hat
movie.
on
You got to
and
watch that
everything.
movie.
Really?
It's tremendous.
Okay.
Yeah,
I love Chris Elliott.
Brian Doyle Murphy's in it.
Murray.
The late great Murray. Sorry.
Yeah.
The late great Brian James, who like steals the show. But this is killing me. She's like really good friends with Mia Sorvino. This is killing me.
But I wouldn't know.
Anyways, they got divorced, and I'm blank. It starts with an M, and not Matilda. Anyhow, but she's like, no one has ever said Cabin Boy, and I was like, well, that's because she's in a lot of other stuff.
Of course,
this is
she's
so
more famous
embarrassing.
from
I
other
can't
things.
think of her name, but yeah,
Who could it be?
I could look it up in 2 seconds. But I don't have my phone.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah, just
because we're
there's
not
2
gonna-
women in Cabin Boy. One of them is Ed
haven't
Magnuson,
seen that
the
movie.
singer, and the other one is my friend whose name I can't think of.
Starts with an M. I
Yeah.
like your orange kicks, yo.
Well, thank you very much.
Nicely done.
Thank you. Yeah, they stopped making these, but I like them.
So Motor Trend is where you're at now, yeah?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you write for them exclusively, or
No, I mean, sort of. I mean, I don't know if you want to get into the nitty gritty of my contract.
I never
but
would have gotten this name if it's Melora Walter.
Melora, yes, Melora, yeah.
from the Office? Oh no,
She's in a lot of
Different lady.
stuff.
She is in a lot of stuff. I do
Yeah.
know her face.
Yeah,
now that
she's
you say it.
hey, it's that girl type
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, but she was in Magnolia. She's best known for being in Magnolia.
She's the one that the cop ended up.
Yes.
Yes. Sure. Okay. Gotcha.
Yes, Melora.
Yeah.
Sorry, Melora, and you'll never hear this because you divorced my friend, and
Oh my God.
I don't see her anymore. But I'll tell you a really funny story. So my friend he had a dinner party at his house, and it turns out she's like really good friends with Mia Sorvino, and I go to the dinner party. I'm sitting there, and Paul Sorvino is sitting next to me.
Talk about Hollywood royalty.
And he's like looking at me, and he just looks like Paulie from Goodfellas.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like I was so freaked
Bad
out.
Bronx
Yeah.
Tale, any of those.
Yeah. But it's just he's like staring at me. I was like telling a story, and I just like stopped talking. Like, this is really freaking me out. You know,
Yeah.
I tried to be cool, but wasn't cool.
Plus, your daughter's hot. Like, don't look at the hot daughter.
That's not an
that was
issue.
the whole thing for me. It
That's
was like, gee
that was not an
whiz.
issue. It's just he just looks like the murderous thug from all the
Godfather.
gangster movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So that was like that was a celebrity where it got me. I got very nervous.
They are the Sorvinos. That's royalty. To me.
It is.
Hollywood's
But like
royalty.
he just had that face. He's like staring. That's what he looks like. You know?
Slicing the garlic paper thin.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
whole thing. All right, we're almost. I mean, we've done the hour, but
I can keep going.
Sorry.
24 hours of lemons.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I
Wow.
gotta talk about that.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's just-
Okay.
it's
Well,
such a-
that was one of those things where I went. I covered it a couple times as a journalist, and but you know, once you cover it once, it's like you've kind of told the story. So then I just loved it. I was just like just very, very attracted to it. And we raced it. I had a team. We raced it, and but I wanted to keep covering it. So Jay Lamb, who's the guy who thought of it, the chief perp, as they say, or as he says, Jay, I pitched an idea like, hey, could I come be a judge? Because they used to have, well, they still do. They have judges. So in other words, you say your
just
car's
it's just.
$500, so they scrutineer it.
Do people know what this is? I mean, I had to learn about.
So
it.
Lemons is the original crap can racing series. So it's a race for $500 cars.
As in max $500. Can't spend
Yeah,
more.
I
right?
mean,
theoretically.
well, okay, so
but I don't. I want people to have the right. This is junkers. This is junker cars.
yeah, I mean, they've gotten better over the years, but originally it was mostly pure junk. Now there's so many competing series that people have some pretty serious cars.
Okay.
Yeah, they might have started out 500, but yeah. Anyhow, so my contribution. So me and Merrily Martin, right? So we said, hey, hey, can we come be judges? And our thing was like, let's just be like corrupt judges, like the hanging judge in used cars. And like, okay, let's say you spent $600 on your car. If you give us a bottle of whiskey, like we'll look the other way. And we actually
Grandpa
made
Munster.
Yeah, it was Grandpa Munster. Yeah, and we made a bribe jar, like you know.
That's funny.
Yeah, and people would throw cash in there. But what it has become now is, I mean, I haven't been involved with Lemons for 10 years, but I think I worked 39 races as a judge. It was great. But the tradition now is people mostly bring booze, and then after the race, all the corner workers, we just give them like the beer and whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. So, because
The leftovers.
you can't fly home with. Oh, yeah, exactly. We steal all the good stuff first. So, of course. Yeah. And then we were charged with like they always had penalties, but it was like the guys that were running the race, they had so much logistical work to do that they had a couple ideas and they just didn't have any time really to devote to it. So Phil and I had a lot of time and we're really cruel, turns out. And so we got very innovative. With the penalties, like Phil's big one, which I still think is brilliant, was the Chemical Ali penalty, which is where he got Little Tree somehow to donate like 500 air fresheners, and so you'd have to like string 100 air fresheners up in your race
pine
car.
trees, right?
Yeah, the little things that hang in your rear view, and the cars would just reek. So if you got a penalty, you'd have to stick 100, and it was awful. It was really awful. You could actually
That would make me throw up.
From,
I
oh,
think,
it was
in the
horrible.
car.
From like
just
it was
gets into my stomach.
probably illegal, but anyway, yeah, from like 30 feet away at
Oh.
50 miles an hour, you could smell the car going by. Yeah, and like we would do grades. We'd have fun. We're regional too. So I remember one time we were in South Carolina, Kershaw, South Carolina, and they didn't like Obama. I'm not saying anything that's out of school. They just didn't like Obama down there.
Yeah.
So what I did was I took Obama's some speech he wrote. It was a good speech, and I just randomly dropped in like lines from like Lenin and Stalin and Marx, and so it was. And so the penalty was called the communist indoctrination of your children because everyone was saying Obama was a communist and a socialist. So,
back then,
so we
yeah.
made the guy who got the penalty round up all the children at the track, sit them down, stand on the hood of their car, and read this Obama speech, which was like, I remember, very well sitting in the kitchen with my mother, and she said, "The iron fist of the proletariat needs no glove." And like they're going like, "Did he really say this?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's his education speech. Like, keep reading it." And and we would like make him fly like UN flags off the car, and then for California we would have like the Burning Man penalty where you had to get your whole team and like sit in a tent and listen to reggae for a half hour. And, so it was fun. We had a lot of fun. It was very creative.
Sounds colorful.
Oh, it was great. It was great. Yeah, it was really cool.
awesome.
But it was like when I started Motor Trend, I did a couple races, but my workload at the time, I just couldn't because you'd fly out on a Thursday and get home on a Monday, and I just couldn't do it. Yeah,
and the whole thing.
And I will say it got look, it was really fun. Got a little repetitive, and then what wound up happening a lot was because they'd put like 200 cars on a track, and I would just like found myself yelling at people for 2 days, just screaming at them because they were just trying to kill each other.
Oh,
there's a lot of.
You mean you were sort of policing the situation?
That's what our job was. When someone got a
knock
penalty,
that
they had
shit
to come in and talk to us. And so I have a lot of respect for cops after being a Lemons judge because what I never realized about cops was when they, especially highway patrol, every time they pull someone over, the first thing they say to them is a lie. You were speeding. No, it wasn't. Like, you know what I mean? Like cops are just lied to instantly. So, these guys.
Oh, I see.
The racers would come in, and I'd be like, "Do you know why you're here?" No. I'm like,
Gotcha.
"Okay, well, you spun out and you hit 2 cars." No, I didn't. It's like, yes, you did. The corner worker saw you, and then inevitably somebody would come in with a GoPro.
The footage of it.
I remember one of my favorite was this was back in South Carolina. This it was a purple first gen RX-7, and it flipped. It just did a flip, right? And the guy comes into the penalty box, after they got him out of the car, and he's like steaming and screaming. He's like, "Where's that black BMW? Where's that? I'm gonna kill that fucker. Where is it?" And I go, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa!" He goes, "Someone hit me," and I'm like, "Well, hang on. Which? There's a lot of black BMWs." And then somebody had GoPro footage, and we played it for the guy. He was by himself, and his wheel just fell off. His right rear wheel fell off in a right hand turn, and the car flipped.
Yep. Just happened.
And I remember he watched it and he just walked away. Just turned around and walked away. So
I'm sure it felt like him that he did get hit.
He saw a black BMW and then he flipped. But
Yep.
anyway, so no one knows what's happening and everyone just lies. And I really did like Lemons, and I love the people, my friends that I made there. They're great. But it was for me. It was like being a cop, and I was just like yelling and screaming.
It sounds like it was fun for.
Yeah, it was great for. I did 39 races. That's 29 too many. Yeah. It was fun. It was a good paycheck.
I will 29 too many.
I made more money working for Lemons than I did working at Autoblog simultaneously. So that's how terrible Autoblog paid really badly, and Lemons paid great. They're very generous.
There's tons of stuff on here.
Yeah.
The last thing we'll get to
Sure.
is that you just got a 914.
I did. So
Is
Davy
that your
Johnson,
first Porsche?
yes, it's my first Porsche. So Davy Johnson, rest in peace, died. Fell in a river and died. Yeah, it's horrible. It's true. I mean, that's a whole other episode. Yeah.
I'm just.
I mean, I don't know what you want. Yeah, fell in a river and died. Stupid way to die.
You're just
Anyways,
awesome. Yeah. Continue.
But Davey, look, I met Davey, a little bit about Davey. So I literally met Davey at Jumbo's Clown Room, the famous strip club in Hollywood. Yeah.
In my 20s, sure.
Yeah, my 20s too. That's when I met him. No,
that's why you look familiar.
yeah.
To Jumbo's.
Yeah. Jumbo's is a great strip club.
Strip club?
Female owned.
It was always lady owned and operated.
Yeah, it still is.
I don't know if I'd even call it a strip club. It was more of a vaudeville show.
Yeah, topless sort of sleaze. Yeah, but good sleaze. The good sleaze.
I said tease. He said sleaze.
So
I heard of it as a strip club.
It's a strip. It's a co-ed strip club. Anyhow.
They juggle,
my friend,
they breathe fire.
My friend, you remember Friendster? You guys old enough for Friendster?
Yeah. So after classmates, before MySpace.
Right. So my friend met this guy on Friendster named Davey, and she said, "Hey, we're going on a date to Jumbo's, and just come along because I have no idea." He's driving down from Oakland.
Group hang.
Yeah. And so they're supposed to be on a date. So meanwhile, Davey and I stood outside, chain smoking and talking about punk rock and cars for 4 hours straight.
Oh. So this worked out.
Yeah, that's how we met, and then
you're a great wingman.
No, it was horrible because she wanted to like hang out with Davey's friend. I don't know what happened with relationships, but anyways, but then years later, and that was probably like in 2002, and then years later, Davey hired me at Jalopnik.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was writing for another site, and
he
he
knew you knew your
and
shit because you guys were out there already.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, that's how we met. Anyway, so then so we were at Jalopnik. Then Davey went on to work for Auto Week and then Car and Driver, and then he died because he fell in a river. And so his family got in touch with me because he had a bunch of cars and motorcycles, and they wanted to sell them. And he was an only child. Both his parents had passed away, so he had some cousins, and they didn't really know anything about the cars or anything. And they said, hey, we have this like Mercedes 6.9 and all these bikes. And I said, what about that green Porsche? Because I knew he had this 914. And they're like, oh, that thing's really in bad shape. Like, you can have it for a very reasonable price. And I got it, and I got ripped off. It's a pile. It's just a literal, actual pile.
Just rotting? Or?
Yeah. Well, actually, no, because it was kind of like a sarcophagus and trash, so the rodents couldn't get to it. Yeah. So it's sitting at Scientific Porsche in Pasadena.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
The mad scientist, Jack.
Yeah, Jack. Yeah, and it's
And he's going to put it back together for us?
He's got the engine. It makes the engine actually was kind of okay. It was missing like stuff like distributor and alternator and gas tank and things like that, but the engine compressed, made compression, and I don't know exactly where it's at.
That's all the important stuff, because everything else is just an accessory, right?
I forget. I haven't rebuilt an engine in 20 years. Yeah, I don't know. But I guess you need an alternator, it turns out, if you want to make the electrical stuff. So
if you want to make the volts.
Yeah, the volts are important. You got to have the volts. Anyways, so I came to I had all these plans because everyone's like, oh, dude, I'll give you a free engine. I'll give you free this, free that.
To get you going.
Just people say things, and then when I'm like, hey, it's at the shop, give me them shocks, and it's like, they just don't even reply to the text. So and then I was talking to Jack, and he's like, I'm doing all this work on the car. Like, I don't want you ripping it apart and like turning it into some, weird project. Like, if I'm going to redo it, I'll just stop working on it. You can come get it. And he's right.
Did he mean like if you were going to bastardize it and make like a
I have a buddy of mine, my buddy, he's like, dude, I have a twin plug 3.2 sitting on a shelf in Austin. If you get the car to Austin, I'll rip out the 1.7 and put in the 3.2.
I gotcha.
Yeah. And
after Scientific, if this is going to become a project car, I would agree. You don't want to waste your money also.
Well, but Jack's time, really. Jack's being very generous. I will say that. He's being super cool. But yesterday, and I was like, it's kind of like everything's in horrible shape. The paint, it was a yellow car that somebody, like I did when I was 1, took a paint roller and made green. So now it's like seafoam and shitty. So I was like, maybe I'll just keep it that way, And then just yesterday, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna like actually paint it. I'm gonna get a good paint job, and I'm gonna like actually spend money and do the interior right, because the interior is 60% like cooked duct tape. It's the worst.
Yeah.
It actually came with Calvin pissing floor mats. That's how ghetto ass this Porsche is. And I'm like, I'm just gonna spend the money.
Honk if you're horny.
Yeah. So I'm figuring I'm gonna spend like $20,000 to get a $25,000 car.
Yeah.
Is kind of my calculation.
Be so happy.
I will until I realize that 70 horsepower or 80 horsepower really does suck.
It's going to make you so much happier.
Be fun
You're going to
maybe.
have no idea.
Yeah. I'm also such a snob that if the car doesn't have air conditioning, I can't be in it that long. But we'll get there.
There's so many options. What year is that car?
It's a 70.
Really?
Yeah, so it's 50 years old.
Look for it for sale soon. It's Scientific.
No. I'm gonna hang on to it. I have things. I want to make sure that like the memory of Davey stay, because Davey, if you don't know Davey, and I shouldn't do this as someone who works for Motor Trend, but go to carandriver.com right now and search for his Rolls-Royce Uber story. Because it's not about a Rolls-Royce or Uber. It's about the death of San Francisco. It's the most magnificent car thing written in the last decade, if not longer. Mm-hmm. Guy was so brilliant, and he has no family, he has no real relative. I mean, he's got cousins, but he's got no heirs, no wife. So his memory will fade. So I've actually started a foundation called the Golden Helmet Foundation, because he wanted to have this. It was horrible. He was getting a gold motorcycle helmet. It kind of looked like Jack Nicholson's Notre Dame helmet in Easy Rider. And he died before the helmet was done, but the helmet exists. Anyway, so we started this foundation, and it's going to have a scholarship in his name, and we have other stuff planned. Like, the stretch of road near where he died. We're gonna hopefully get it like a mile of road renamed and stuff like that. But anyways,
That's awesome, man.
yeah, that's going real slow. My wife is an attorney, but she's busy. So, but with the paperwork finally all in, and like in 2 weeks we should actually be like fully tax exempt, and I'll be able to like take donations, and we can start doing stuff. But we've raised like $3,500 so far.
You brought up your wife again.
Yeah,
I would like to switch gears and just point out that I also said they had sword swallowing and flame blah, blah, blah at some point at Jumbo's. I want to make sure that you didn't meet your wife at Jumbo's.
No, but I met her because of the Magic Castle, actually.
Oh!
She performed. She's
Same neighborhood.
Yeah, she used to perform every, the Halloween season. She'd perform every year.
Magic Castle.
Yeah, we're members.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
No, she's a magician, so she can actually...
No, she's not. She's one of the very few I shouldn't say very few, but she's a non-magician.
Associate members or whatever?
Yeah. But sideshow people hate magicians. It's great. It's
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
who
great.
knew?
Yeah. Well, it's
I'd
like
love to
the
see some
Belgians hate the
commingling.
Luxembourgians, and you know what I mean. So they do not like magicians at all, because magicians are tricking. Whereas like she's really swallowing a sword. She's really pounding a nail in her head.
Yes.
Yeah. So
There's actual...
they don't like magicians.
I can kind of totally understand that, actually.
I can, because it's the same shit. But anyways, it's affect you adopt. Like now I hate magicians.
That's right.
It's like,
and I'm going to wear this for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Oh, actually, even more granular. So like natural born freaks, like if you're 7.5 feet tall, or you have a third arm, you hate. Like people like my wife, who are they're trained freaks.
Yes.
They learn how to be a freak.
Yeah, this makes perfect sense.
Because they can turn it off. My wife is a lawyer, and she can turn off her freak show thing.
Yep.
But they can't, because they got a arm coming out of their forehead or whatever.
I kind of understand.
Yeah. So everyone hates everyone. It's great.
Doesn't Larry David have a thing? He doesn't like people who shave their head bald for the same reason.
Right.
It's the same logic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Exactly right.
You don't have to.
Right. Yeah. And that kind of thing amuses me. So.
Jonny Lieberman, this has been an absolute pleasure.
Well, thanks.
We have done the time. This is the segment we call Final Thoughts by this guest. If there's anything you want to leave us with.
How
can the world be a better place? What would be your favorite
We're doomed as a species.
Okay.
Favorite car?
I don't know. Whatever you want.
I drove a car, and you people like Porsches, so I will mention it. So Porsche did this absolutely unprecedented, amazing thing. So journalists always run around saying like, "Oh man, like you have all these cool cars in the museum. I wish you could drive them." So Porsche was like, "All right." So they brought a 901, a 959, a 996 GT3.1, which we never got in the States, a 917, a 918, a Cayenne Trans-Siberia race car, all this stuff up to Sonoma. And I was just there for the 959. I mean, I had 917s, but I'm not a race car driver. But 959, right? And then I drove this little thing called a 356 America Roadster, 1953. I've never fallen so in love with a car. They made 17 of these things, and it was for Johnny von Neumann, however you pronounce it, Newman if it's anglicized. And it was Max Hoffman, who was the famous New York Porsche, Volkswagen, Mercedes guy. He said, "Let's do this car," and it was really expensive because they stripped it down to nothing. They almost doubled the horsepower. So in '53, a 356 would have made 40 horsepower. This one made 70. It was lighter. Yeah, this thing weighed, I think they said it was like 1,370 pounds. This particular one was a 17th of 17 made, alloy body. It was never even drilled for turn signals because it was going to be a race car.
Love it.
Yeah, the dashboard was like a key and headlights. That's it. That was all those on the dash. And it was so freaking wonderful. It was just, I was doing a comparison with the new Speedster. And because this was the America Roadster was the forerunner of the 356 Speedster. But this one was $4,500 in 53, which is like double the price of a 356 or almost double. And then when the Speedster came out, it was like $500 more than a regular one. And so in a lot of ways, it's like the first GT car. It's the first factory hot rod Porsche ever, or one of the first 17. It's one of the few survivors. So that, I don't know if it's my favorite car, but it's my favorite car I've driven recently.
That's very cool.
And it was amazing because we had this. They took us to this wine. We were at Sears Point, which is now called Sonoma Raceway.
Thank you for calling it Sears Point.
Yeah, Sears Point, or Sears Pointless, as we call it in Lemons. But before we were there, went to a winery, and they had this 1 mile like private road, and we were just zinging all day up and down this road and doing it for camera and blah blah blah. Made a video, and you get more comfortable with the car, and then by the end of the day, I'm just hucking this thing, and it's just awesome. It's just it's a pure sports car. And then I get in there, and I was talking to the museum guy, and I was like, so what's this cost? 3.75 million euros. I was like, what? Like, I was on a 1-lane bridge with no rails and a $4 million museum car. Like, so it was pretty cool.
Had it all dialed up, ready to go. Oh, it's actually exactly this amount.
Yeah. It was super, super amazing car.
Would you like to hear?
Yeah.
You're awesome, brother.
Thanks,
you so
man.
much.
Well,
Appreciate
you guys
you
are
being
amazing too.
That's it. You feel good?
That's it. Yeah. Follow me on Instagram.
There we go.
Jonny Lieberman.
And where else can people find you?
Motortrend.com.
That's the easiest.
Yeah,
right.
but Instagram really is.
Yeah, you got a lot of followers, man.
Yeah, getting there.
That went up.
Getting there.
That went up a lot.
Yeah. Getting there. But
Mrs. Ryan, I love you so very much. What do we have tomorrow?
A comedian TBD.
Okay, I had Mike Ivey here, but I think he got a movie. He booked a movie, so he won't be here. So what a jerk. And then Thursday we've got Paul Kennel from Auto Kramer. Paul Kramer from Auto Kennel. That's right.
Oh, Auto Kennel?
Yeah.
I love those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have that Porsche with a Lamborghini paint on the door.
That's exactly right.
My favorite Porsche.
Exactly right.
My other favorite Porsche.
I love you so very much. Jonny Lieberman, we love you so very much.
Thank you so much.
so
We love everybody at home. Please love one another, and we'll see you tomorrow.